What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you another brand new profile thanks to Legacy of Destruction. This time it is the Ragnaraikas. Now this version actually involves the Audatic, so we've gone down the Reptile theme for this deck, and what makes the Ragnaraikas so cool is it does allow you to utilize either the Rip types, which I quite like the idea of, or the Pre-types. Now what I mean by that is you have the Tri-types, which is Beast, Beast Warrior and Winged Beast, and what I like to call as the Rip types is Reptiles, Insects and Plants, which works out incredibly well with the Ragnaraika archetype. So I decided to go down the Reptile route. It can also be utilised with stuff like Tractrix, which are Insect and Plants, as well as all the other decks out there that are either Plant focused, Insect focused, or of course Reptile focused, so you can utilise them in anything you want, which is really kind of cool because you've got like the Sun Seeds and the Sun Vines and everything else in between. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. The good thing about this deck is it does have a lot of variation. Not only can you try different types with it, but you can also utilise different extra deck options depending on what you have access to, and different types of builds. It is entirely open up and to you. So we're going to start off with the first main card of the deck, and the Ragnaraika's got 2 secrets and 1 ultra rare, but the secrets do look pretty badass, and they are relatively cheap, about £8 to £10 a copy, depending on where you're looking. Now this artwork is what Yugioh used to be. This is the dark, the menacing, the scary, the horror themed, which works out really nicely in a reptile based orientation. So starting off with Ragnaraika, the Evil Seed. You get the ability to special summon this card from the hand by sending an insect, plant or reptile monster from your hand to the graveyard. Nice, so you've got 3 ways of being able to get this on the board without using up your normal summon. You can only special summon it once per turn this way, and if it is normal or special, you get to add to your hand up to 2 different Ragnaraika cards of yours that are banished and or in your graveyard to the deck except itself, and then you get to banish 1 card from the hand. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except insect, plants or reptiles. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's very important that this will lock you down, which is why I'm not so much playing the Audatics with the Invoked as I did in the past, but you technically could do, because as long as your normal summon is utilised first, the only thing it will lock you out of is the link to Ragnaraika, because this one is the only one, which is really weird, that for the entire turn you can't special summon except the Rip types. So, whereas everything else is from that point onwards. Really weird. Because Ragnaraika the Evil Seed is so important to get to, we do have a way to get to it through our normal summon, and that is of course in the form of Lone Fire Blossom. And obviously it's a little bit risky because you tribute this, you get ashed, you cry a little bit, and then you kind of move on. But this is just so important to kind of help you get into your starters for this deck. Obviously getting into the Ragnaraika does give you access to either your Ragnaraika Armored Lizard, or of course it can get you into your Samurai Beetle. Alongside Bloom, and again, artwork on this, stunning. But before I get onto that, let's talk about the Ragnaraika Samurai Beetle and of course the Armored Lizard. Now if you played Sneak Peek and you played Sealed, you would definitely know these cards because they did come up quite importantly. So the Armored Lizard gives you the ability to special summon it from the hand by banishing an insect, plant or reptile monster from your graveyard, and you can only special summon it once per turn this way. You get to discard 1 insect, specifically plant or reptile monster, to target 1 face-up monster your opponent trolls and return it to the hand. Unfortunately you can't bounce an insect, plant or reptile, which is a little bit weird. And unfortunately it's not a quick effect. If it was, great form of interruption. And then of course you've got the Samurai Beetle. You get to special summon this card again from the hand by placing 1 of your banished insect, plant or reptile monsters that is banished onto the bottom of the deck, which is really kind of cool. So this gives you the ability to, once you've banished off of the back of your Evil Seed, you can then utilise like banish the lizard, use the beetle to put this back to the bottom and then summon out the beetle. Great success. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a Ragnaraika Link monster, you get to target a level 4 or lower insect, plant or reptile in your graveyard, accept itself and special summon it in defense. So you're just getting more material, and the idea behind the Ragnaraika Link monsters is that they want to link up. You've got a 2, a 3, a 4 and a 5, and all of them are 2 monsters minimum, but as long as you are meeting the requirements of the Link summon, you can use, for example, a 4 and a 1 to do so, and all of the Ragnaraika Link monsters have the ability to bring themselves back from the graveyard by spinning back a monster you control to the bottom of the deck. So the best thing about that is the card that the beetle brings back to the board, you can then link off and go into the link 3, and then you'll be able to put a monster back on the field to the bottom of the deck and then summon back the link 2. Great success. And then of course Ragnaraika Bloom. I love the artwork on this one. I think Seed is a little bit better just because it's more close up, but even this is really cool. Like the details of the samurai sword in the mouth is absolutely insane, and I love how this pops on the camera. It does look really, really menacing. So insect, plant and reptile monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense, so great synergy with the Audatics as well. And then all other monsters on the field will lose 300 attack and defense. During your main phase, you get to activate one of these effects. Either add a Ragnaraika monster from the deck to your hand and then discard one card, or you special summon one of your Ragnaraika monsters from your hand, graveyard, or banished in defense. You could use a Loredonus if you want to, but you've got lights and darks, so at the moment there isn't really enough targets to do so. The last Ragnaraika card we're playing is the Hunting Dance. So target cards your opponent controls up to a number of different rip types. I just wanted to use that terminology. Monster types among the link monsters you control that are insect, plant, or reptile. Destroy them. And obviously, as you end your turn, you should be aiming to get the link 5, which is an insect, the link 4, which is a reptile, and then at the very least, either the link 2, ideally, which is a plant. So you're going to be able to pop 3 cards. Really nice. If face up, insect, plant, or reptile monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there. You get to banish this card, then target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So again, it does give you another form of interruption, especially when you're going to be utilizing only only insect, plants, and reptiles. Moving on to the supporting engine in this is the Audatics. So we are playing 2 of the Naya. So the Naya kind of combos off with the Nunu. And what makes these so good is you discard the one to send the other. So you can send this card from the hand to the graveyard to send one light monster, and this one lets you send one light reptile and dark reptile from the deck to the graveyard. If this card is normal or special, you get to add an Audatic spell or trap from the deck to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. And this one is if you control no monsters, you get to special summon, or you control an Audatic monster, you get to special summon this card back from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. But you cannot special summon monsters while it remains face up on the field, except reptiles, so keep that in mind. Then of course we do have the one Zoa, the one Curse, and I like to play the one Boss Monster Abyss. You don't have to play this, you can cut this out completely. One card that I am missing, which is why I'm also subbing in a Knight Sword Serpent, is I am missing, and I'm going to get the name right, Serpentine Princess. And the reason I'm missing that is because it was printed in 2003 and 2005. It's in the bottom of my bulk somewhere, pretty battered common, and it's £10 a copy. I'm like, I'll just wait for an OTS reprint. But the idea is you've got the boss monster here, you've got a way of being able to recur 2 cards from the graveyard. So this one is if it is in the graveyard, you get to tribute 1 monster to special summon this card, and then your opponent can special a monster from the graveyard. So you want to be a little bit careful if they've hand trapped you, yikes. But they get its effect, and if this is special, you get to special summon back a level 4 or lower Audatic monster in the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is completely fine. This one is if it's sent to the graveyard via a card effect, you get to special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, just because you're a free level 4 off the back of Snake Crane. And then you've got your boss monster in the form of the Audatic Overlord, because this one will allow you, so while this card is face up on the field, quick effect, you get to send all monsters from the field to the graveyard, except face up monsters special from the graveyard, which you're going to be doing that with your link monsters anyway. So, and then we've got the one Audatic, I'm just going to stick with that one, Water Lily. So this one lets you send a reptile monster from the deck to the graveyard, and then if you have 5 or more reptiles with different names in the graveyard, you get to special summon it. So it's a way to Foolish Burial the Overlord, and then by that point you would be using this off of the back of Snake Crane, and you'll have enough in the graveyard to do so. More times than not, the card you're going to want to search, though, is going to be your Audatic Daybreak. This is a quick effect, and the best thing about this is you get to tribute a reptile monster, and for every 2 levels that the tributed monster had on the field, special summon up to 1 Audatic token, reptile level 2. During your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to target one of your banished reptile monsters, shuffle it into the deck, and then you get to send a reptile monster from the deck to the graveyard. Now, second effect will come up like a couple of times, but more times than not, what you're going to do is you're going to use this to tribute off this, because you're able to use this to summon back your Naya. So, a little bit of great success there. This then summons back the Naya. Naya will then search you out the Daybreak. And the best thing about that, activate Daybreak, tribute this off, give yourself 4 tokens. And the best thing about it is all of your link monsters don't care if they're using tokens. As long as it is at least a reptile, plant, or insect monster, you're in great success. So just off those 4 cards, what you're basically doing, or those 4 tokens, is you're then going to go, okay, cool, 2 go into the link 2. Link 2, revive 1 from the graveyard. Link up, go into link 3. Bring back the link 2 if you want to, or you're going to save it a little bit later on. Link climb all the way up to the link 5, and then you bring back the link 4 by spinning back one of your monsters, and then the exact same with the link 2. So you're ending your board on a reptile, on basically rip types. So an insect, reptile, and a plant monster. Speaking of which, the most broken card of this entire deck, Triple Snake Rain. Discard 1, send 4. Great success. Really kind of cool card. If you want to make more consistency of this, you can of course play Pot of Prosperity to dig it out. It does get a little bit better with the Serpentine Princess, because the Serpentine Princess, if this face-up card is returned from the field to the deck, you get to select and special summon a level 3 or lower monster from your deck to your side of the field. Any level 3 or lower monster. So you're telling me I can just summon out my Ragnaraika Evil Seed. Damn, that card's good. And the way you get it back to the board is you can get it back to the board with stuff with your link 2s and everything else, and then you spin those back to the bottom of the deck, or you put the princess back to the bottom of the deck, and that will trigger to then give you the Evil Seed. No wonder it's a 10 power card. Yikes. 1 for 1, and then just the hand trap lineup. So adapt these to your local environment. So Ashes, Ogres, Imperms, Gorbai, Talents. Adapted to whatever you want. They can be board breakers if you like Super Poly, but keep in mind you will lock yourself into insect, plants, and reptiles. If you do that, so you're probably going to be saving that for during your opponent's turn. You do have stuff like Forbidden Droplet if you want to give that a run as well. It really is up to you. You've got flex spots. If you wanted to, you could play the Invoked engine, but like I said, that then adapts the Link 2s that you're going to be playing. So what you would do is, rather than relying on the Link 2s as much, you would actually probably skip that and just go straight to the Link 3s, but back them up with protection from stuff like Macabre and everything else. So I'm just going to take you through the ones that are not the Eodatics or not plant reptiles and everything else. So the ones that you're just going to be playing will be SP Little Knight, Sky Slayer Typhoon, and then I've gone with an Exton Knight, but you can pretty much play whatever you want because ideally you're going to lock yourself into reptiles more times than not when you do have that rank 4 on board. But keep in mind your rank 4s can be a mixture of your Nunu, your Zoa as well is a level 4 alongside your Naya and of course your Night Serpent. The only time you ever lock yourself into reptiles is when Nunu comes back using its own effect. And if you do that, you're going to be going into a King of the Feral Imps rather than anything else. But this is a bit of a flex spot, change it to whatever you need to. For the other ones that are not specifically the Ragnaraikas, we are playing the 1 Bengal Lancer and then we are playing the 1 Haggard Lizard. This is actually really kind of cool because this one is 2 monsters with different names, so very easily made. You get to banish 1 monster from your face-up field or graveyard with 2,000 or less attack, which all of your Eodatics do, apart from your level 8s or highers. And in doing so, you obviously get to adapt an attack on the board to match the attack of the Nunu or whatever you've banished. But because you've banished a reptile, you get to draw 1 card. So you get to replace a card you might discard off of anything else. And then for the Ragnaraikas, we are playing 3 of the Skeleton Soldier. I would have loved to have seen this as a super because I think the artwork on this one would have really popped. So 2 monsters including an insect, plant or reptile. You can target 1 Ragnaraika monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. If this card is in your graveyard, you get to target 1 insect, plant or reptile monster. You control, place it onto the bottom of the deck, and if you do special summon this card, you can only use each effect once per turn. And however, for the entire turn, you cannot special summon during the turn you activate either of this card's effects. So that's the biggest shame because all the others are for the rest of the turn. So I don't know why this one had to be different. And then we've got 2 of the Ragnaraika Mantis Monk. So 2+ monsters including at least an insect, plant or reptile. Banish 2 insect, plant or reptile monsters from the graveyard to add a Ragnaraika trap from the deck to the hand. And if this card is in the graveyard, again, the exact same kind of response as the Skeletal Soldier. You can spin 1 monster you control, put it back to the bottom of the deck, and if you do, special on this card. But for the rest of the turn, you can't special on monsters except insect, plants or reptiles. Like, why couldn't I have that clause? Come on. And then the Link 4, which I think looks pretty badass because it looks like the Underworld Goddess, but in reptile form. This one, again, it's a Link 4, 2+ more monsters, including an insect, plant, or reptile. If your opponent activates a monster effect, except during the damage step, you get to activate this effect. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters in the hand the turn. If this card is in the graveyard, you get to target, again, a plant, insect, or reptile, spin it back to the bottom of the deck and special summon it. And again, you're locked out for the rest of the turn. And then finally, you got your Stag Sovereign, which is your Link 5. So this one, again, only requires 2 monsters, which is why you can use the 4 and then any 1 monster to do so, because it will add up to the Link 5 materials required. And if a monster or monsters is specialed from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, except during the damage step, you get to destroy 2 monsters on the field. Again, if it's in the graveyard, you target an insect, plant, or reptile, put it back to the bottom of the deck, and if you do, special summon it. But for the rest of the turn, you are locked into insect, plants, or reptiles. So it's a real shame that they couldn't do that stuff during the damage step because it means this deck is not a direct counter to Tempires, which would have been really, really fun if it was. But the idea is what you want to try and end your board with is you're going to want to end with a Stag Sovereign, a Skeletal Soldier, and then, of course, the Chain Coils. So you've got your reptile, your insect, and your plant. Rip. And then with your trap card, you then pop in 3 cards. Great success. So that's pretty much it for the Ragnaraika or Eodatic profile. Now, if you want to see a different version of this deck, like the Trap Trick version, if you want to see, I'm trying to fit the other, like there's a Bee Trooper version, which is kind of cool as well, quite fun. If you want to see those versions, then make sure you hit the video, get it above 50 likes, and I'll be more than happy to bring it for you. For now, I still feel that the Ragnaraikas do need the new support in Infinite Forbidden before they can actually like really get going on their own. But I do like the ability to be able to dust off old reptile decks, old insect decks, and everything else, just to kind of give it a bit more of a modern spin to it. There's loads of room in the extra deck if you want to, so if you wanted to focus more on insects or plants or anything else like that, you can cut out your Typhoon, your SP Little Knight, and your Exton Knight, and that's when you can play like the Link 4 Bee Trooper, as it is an insect, it's just an out-and-out rank 4, Link 4 boss monster. Then you could also consider, like I said, If you have it in your bulk, definitely play the Serpentine Princess. I would if I could find it, and if I do find it, it'll be going straight in. Anyway, I hope this has given you a couple of ideas on your own build. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.